Okay, we got you back. You were
Yes.
speaking of the black goo. We'll pick up from there.
Yes, I was speaking about that and how it's an advanced nanotech virus, and it definitely comes from fallen races, which are the Anunnaki, which were also called the Angelics. There's so many names for it. Um, Interestingly enough, I was talking about the pyramid, the capstone
Right,
too,
right.
and yes, how the crown, and this is well known by the elite, that the crown represents the third eye, and this is why a king was given a crown. It wasn't meant. The king was not supposed to just have be some terrible person, that had a crown on. The crown was a symbolic thing, given meaning. It had a symbolic meaning. It was given by the highest authority to say only a king who has his eye open, who is godly, who is noble, should rule over the people, because he will give them, he will give them divine knowledge. He will judge with divine knowledge. He will rule with divine knowledge.
Right.
He will be an illuminated being that deserves to be there, because he wears the crown, representing that his third eye should be open, and he should be, connected, source connected. The gold represents the source connection to God's source. The different encrusted colors on the crown represent the different the aura colors that should be open. He should have a fully illuminated aura and chakras. The colors on the crown align to the chakras. The representation, is very, very symbolic of these things. And many times they use the flower on the fleur-de-lis, the flower and stuff like that, on their sort of what they wore. And this would mean that they were connected to the tree of life, to the flower of life. So there's so much I can go into, where there is patents of royalty, and tell you what everything means, down to the color of what they're wearing. Many times deep blue too, deep blue nobility, giving a sort of a nobility that it was achieved because the soul had been through so much to achieve such nobility on an interdimensional level, and it was supposed to be somebody of goodness. Sadly, we did not follow that. We no longer read the symbolism and understand who should be our rulers. We simply put any sort of person who is a sort of, just doesn't fit any of those things. It's almost, it definitely is satanic that they are putting the opposing to what literally that the outfits, literally what they're wearing on as rulers. We're putting the opposing of what the exact symbolism says that we should have.
Right.
Yes.
And people are pretty much getting fed up with it, though. Now it's starting to see right through the veil,
People nowadays have been so MK'd to follow anybody who's a great actor.
Right.
But it doesn't matter if they have any morals, if they have any basis of goodness, any good heart. As long as they're putting on a good show, people are going to follow, because, well, they follow soap operas, they follow those sort of things. So they're so MK'd to follow and anybody that's putting on a good show, rather than to look for the attributes that are what I call godly or noble. And those are things, as like I was just explaining, the people in power should be aligned to compassion, to caring, to their hearts open, to actually be noble on a spiritual level. Those were those originally intended to rule, and that's why they, like I said, that the whole crown and thing was done symbolically to show this.
A lot of people think it's just pretty accent jewelry, though. The crown.
Sorry,
I
didn't hear you.
I said still to this day, a lot of people think that the crown is just nice jewelry instead of what it really.
It's really sad, because if people had their third eyes open, they would understand that everything is symbolic, and they would understand what these things mean rather than them just sitting there as some pretty piece of jewelry or adornment.
Right.
They were meant just to be an adornment.
And they speak about what you know about the Mars bases and stuff like that.
About Mars, okay. So I remember being on Mars. I remember it having a shield around it just like Earth. And this was on the news that that scientists just said that Earth has some sort of magnetic shield around it. This was to protect Earth from interdimensional beings that came from outer space. By the way, when the Bible talks about the abyss, it is not talking about the center of the Earth. It is talking about space. Space is the abyss, not the center of the Earth. So the electromagnetic shield around Earth was to protect from any beings coming from the abyss that are negative. That was put on Earth a long time ago. Mars had a similar one. Mars was taking over when the ruler there, from what I remember, and he sort of put the shield down so that this force could come in, and that's what I remember. There was some sort of nuclear wars that went on there, and some very advanced beings got very harmed there because of the nuclear. And this is some of the issues we have since it harmed them. And they were almost like supermen. They were very advanced beings. Those are now here on Earth in the incarnation cycle, and they have, they're trying to fix themselves, and I know a few of them, and they're not able to fix themselves, properly, because their soul energy sort of has been messed up because of the nuclear wars. I dislike nuclear highly a lot because it pierces all dimensions. It is dangerous to beings in high dimensions. This is why there is so much interaction from the UFOs around nuclear sites to turn them down or to try to keep things from happening. Right. Because that this is very, very dangerous, that it pierces every dimension. And it creates holes. It creates like an interdimensional black hole, allowing everything to enter, allowing things to enter into literally every dimension. So this is very, very much, this is what happened on Mars. And there is definitely some inhabitants on Mars that got deformed and became mutants that are there. And it's quite dangerous on a good part of Mars. I know because I was used to go there and do different work there. We don't want that happening here on Earth. There is a good faction that doesn't want that happening, and they will definitely do all they can to keep any nuclear war from happening on Earth. With Mars, there are definitely inhabitants up there from the nuclear wars that are very dangerous. There are other inhabitants up there. There's savage inhabitants and non-savage inhabitants. There are definitely some governmental things happening because of the job.
Yeah, we have our stuff is up there, and Nazis are up there, and it's a mess.
Well, they sort of went to the other side of the moon. The what do you call them? The Third Reich. Yeah. Yeah. What they figured out is that they sort of did a pact with. I really don't want to talk about that right now. I think it's just a whole show within itself. But yes, the dark side of the moon. There's so much to all of this, Interestingly enough, they made pacts with the fallen, right. And yes, all sorts of stuff. So definitely is interesting. It's funny because the whole black sun, where they promote the black sun, which they'd love to shut down the sun and turn it, dark so that they can pass through there. They'd like to absorb all the energy so they could pass through there and get to the other side. So there's this whole cult of the dark sun, you know, which is very, very interesting. That is, I noticed they use a lot of symbolism for, because they think, this is it. If you charge something, they know how to charge it, like ISIS. Let me talk a little bit about this psyop on ISIS. They realized that ISIS was, you know, causing them, ISIS, which is called by many other names, they realized ISIS was causing them some trouble. So they made a psyop, they called it ISIS, and they made a lot of the world hate it so they could use the energy to literally attack that being.
Yeah, energy vampirism.
Yes, well, come on. If they're going to fight a very powerful force, they're going to need energy. How do they collect it? By creating a psyop.
Right.
They name and they stream the energy from that psyop towards the target that they want, being said ISIS.
Right. They even gather our energies in the, you know, simple ball games and stuff like that, and when everybody goes to church and everything, and harness that vampire energy
Anywhere they can, because
right.
It's being used in war. It's being used in a war to keep humanity shut down. Okay, so here I'm gonna use my little OL bottle here as an example. Okay, imagine, okay, this is a person here. The well bottle being having energy, is full of a well right now. The person being full of energy. Imagine when they're vamped from energy. When you're vamped of energy, you go down to the lower realms. When you're full of energy, you go higher to the higher realms, and you start to become awakened. So they have to keep humanity vamped so that they don't wake up. It's a war to keep them literally vamped enough so that they don't wake up. If humanity wasn't vamped, they would wake up very quickly.
Right. Even like the best thing to do right now is to raise your own vibration. The higher your vibration is, the less can bother you.
Raise it and protect your energy. It's so important to protect your energy. You know, be a bit selfish with the energy. You should always be a giver in life, but never overextend yourself. I had to learn this myself because I want to help everybody. I like helping people. I love people. If I could, I'd extend a hand to the whole world. But I also realized that by doing it, I can be very kind, very cordial to people, very well, but also if anybody negative comes towards me, I shut them down, sort of get rid of them, because, you know, just shun them in a nice way, because I know they're after my energy. Well, since I take care of myself really well, if you have a chunk of my energy, you go higher, you get to access where I do, so I don't want that access. Mm-hmm. So essentially what I do is I just kind of cut people off, and I keep them at at length if I don't feel they're positive. People need to learn how to fix themselves, how to gather their own energy rather than going to the ones who have energy and stealing it away. They need to do that. And when they do that, they're going to get out of depression. They're going to be happy. They're going to start to be givers rather than takers. They're going to switch around the whole negative sort of, taker. There's so many takers in society. They're going to switch around. They're going to be polar opposite. And not only that, doing a lot of inner spiritual work is always important in this area, because that's how you get a lot of energy. And we should all be doing that, not just to get energy, but because we care about our souls and we care about those around us, because we affect those around us. I think that people talk, and you should always do things like help others out and stuff like that. Of course, like I said, don't do it to a point where it drains you dry. I've got there. It's really bad. It's not good. Do it to a point where, it's balanced. But you know where all the change is going to come from going within yourself, from doing work within yourself. That's going to manifest around you, within the people around you, just within. And if we had enough people around the earth just doing inner work, it's great to help out the poor. It's great to help out charities. It's great to, try to get better lunches in schools. it's really great to do these things, and we should do them, but we should do our main focus on ourselves and on making sure that we are charged enough and that we are well within, because that's how we change things.
That's exactly why I named this show Project Incentian, to go to work inside.
Yes. This is the trick. They try to make you think that everything is on the outside.
Right.
So people overextend themselves on the outside because they've created problems on the outside, and they're not realizing, well, all of the most work, most everything is on the inside, and that will manifest. I remember reading years ago when I was in France, because I grew up in France, I remember reading a article that was just amazing. This really, really made me think. And it was about a pastor who, and this pastor, I think it was in Hawaii or something. I'm sorry if it wasn't, and if anybody finds this article, because it's been years now. But this pastor was trying to help out this group of inmates, just some of the worst inmates ever. And he was, for years, he'd go read the Bible to them. He would bring them food. He would try to gain their trust and stuff, and it wasn't working right. And he couldn't do it anymore, and he was going to give up. And somehow, I think in a dream or something, he was shown that he should work on himself. And this story, it hasn't went away in my mind for years, because he was shown he should work on himself. And it is such a heart-touching story, because he started just to do what they call subtle energy work. He started to take care of himself. He started taking care of his body. He started to go within. He said, even chewing his food, enjoying his food, enjoying his cup of coffee. He started to slow down and really just, become aware of every small, subtle thing. And he said when he did that, every time he saw, each day knew that he saw the inmates, each day he worked more on himself, they were just changing towards him. They changed so much when he did all the inner work. So much that in the end, they could leave the gate open and the inmates wouldn't take off from there. They had changed so much because of the frequency. They were already connected to him because of the years he went there, but because he changed.
Froze up. Okay.
Freeze again.
Go back 5 seconds, 10 seconds. You've completely froze up.
Again? Okay. Do you want me to read the story? I'm fine with it.
No, it just stopped when you said that the inmates didn't want to even, or weren't worried about leaving because they have been
Yes.
or go from there.
Yes. They became so loving and beautiful souls because he changed his frequency, and he was already connected to them for years from going there. And since he changed his frequency, they could sense it. And it's very interesting because with animals, I'm able to speak to animals through colors and emotions. And an animal who's scared or afraid, I'll just send beautiful heart color or an emotion of love, and that animal will totally change in demeanor. People are the same way. That's the thing. Where I come from, everybody speaks in emotions. We send an emotion back to each other and read the emotions. And here on earth, it's very, very interesting because I read so many people's emotions, and I literally can read what they feel and sense and, everything about them like that. And sometimes it's very hard for me to speak. And I had a long time where I had issues speaking because my vocabulary was not well. I was refusing to speak because where I come from, I was used to speaking in emotions.
Right.
So it proved to be horrible for some people close to me, because I initially send them an emotion and think, well, they should feel me and, react back because I was so used to that and not used to vocabulary to speech, that it did cause me some issues, and I had to sort of, learn speech much better. And I was just so alien to being here that the whole sending an emotional thing and seeing if, wasn't working very well in 3D. I feel a child in 3D despite being advanced interdimensionally. It is just like this. But the reaction, I can sense the emotions of somebody who isn't well. There are people around me. I know so many people, and my soul sort of keeps an eye on them. And there was this one woman who she wanted to harm herself, and I was able to sense that emotion, see what she wanted to do, and sent her emotions back of love that changed the outcome. This story that I just said, he was changing his emotions, which were reflecting on them. They were changing theirs because they sensed love from him. They sensed that he was becoming an illuminated, enlightened being.
Tell, can you elaborate on the pyramid, how you were saying is the crystal's top is gone, and what that has to do with the vibration of, the earth and us?
The capstone on the pyramid and the dollar bill, if you notice with the eye on it,
Right.
It represents the third eye that's been removed. It is definitely connected to the eye of Horus being plucked out, which was not one eye like they show, but rather the third eye being plucked out, so that humanity lost its interdimensional sort of view. The capstone is really well known by the elite that it represents the third eye being plucked out, but they have their third eyes open due to rituals and stuff like that, not because they're full of energy. It's because they steal energy, which then allows them. Anybody who has a lot of energy is going to have their third eye open. That's just it. So they steal energy, so their third eyes are open, and humanity stays shut down.
What are some ways that people can raise their vibration, open their third eye?
I've been working with a good small group, because I do what I call sort of interdimensional life coaching, where I take care of getting people's health together and also getting them so that they can access their dimensions stuff. So it's really awesome, because one of my pupils, I like to call him a pupil, he now is seeing different angels and experiencing all this stuff. But it's a level of things. You have to do meditation. There's a variety of supplements, herbs. You need to take flowers to work on the inner flower of life, herbs that will help, build up your aura, your chakras, detoxes. There's a good level, changing your diet, exercise, doing different vibrational sort of meditations. So there's a good level of things that you do to raise your vibration so that you can get there. But it's very possible to get there. I just think that people get stuck onto one thing too much. Even in miracle cures, which a lot of them do work, but people get stuck to one miracle cure.
Oh.
They're not doing a variety of things which they should be doing at this stage.
Right, that's what I just recently have learned, to not stick with just one regimen, and because I just started using essential oils and stuff like that, and you can really feel the difference.
You can, but it's like putting everything together: essential oils, vitamins, superfoods, the whole array, not getting stuck on one thing. Right. Then I dislike what they call spiritual leaders. I dislike them terribly. I would never call myself a spiritual leader, and I can assure you I am very, very spiritual. And This is another thing. I feel like spiritual leaders are set up to make you give them their energy or worship them rather than empowering you. First of all, everybody has these abilities. Everybody is very, very special. And I get so angry when I see people who call themselves spiritual leaders and say, oh, I'm the one who's accessing this, you must do this, or I'm so special. What they're doing again is raping people of their power, of their personal power, of their uniqueness, and they're working for the dark factions. This is a huge issue for me. I know that so many put spiritual leaders on a pedestal. You must think for yourself. You must heal yourself. You must not follow these people. You must not worship these people, because they're taking your energy and they're giving it to dark factions that they work for. And they come in the name of goodness and light, and this is the wrong thing. Honestly, I experienced speaking to angels. I know from a child, I was told extremely how gifted I am in many, many things, and I would never sit and say I'm a spiritual leader. And I assure you, I experience a lot more than these people do. I won't exploit it. Also, these people are saying things like the mantis beings are good. Pray and mantis. Look at the name. Pray. To pray. These prey and mantis beings, they feed off auras. They are negative, lower dimensional beings. By saying things like this are positive, it is telling you that when these beings come in your aura, it's okay with them. So people are letting these beings come in their aura because they think they're good, and they're being fed off of. They're not realizing that these spiritual leaders have sort of pacts with the lower beings, and they are a direct line to these lower dimensions, to these lower beings, to help them feed off of the energy. When they give these beings energy, they get things like money, fame, all sorts of things that they want, because their souls are rather tainted. They are not there to help you. You know who can save yourself, who can empower yourself, is you yourself, nobody else. You can listen. I can tell you, you can take these vitamins, you can take these superfoods, you can do these meditations, please become better. But I will never say you can use me to access these different beings, or my experience of these beings will be better than your experience, so I should be put on a pedestal. You should put yourself on a pedestal, and remember, it's yourself, your unique God self that is connected to all. You are to work on yourself and become self-empowered. You can listen to advice, but remember, the main person, that's important is you yourself. Your spiritual path is different than anybody else's. Everybody's is different. Everybody's is unique. You should not think that you can use somebody to, sort of experience spirituality through them because of their experiences. You must learn to become awakened and to no longer be a child spiritually, and to wake yourself up and take self-responsibility and think for yourself.
That's it. Yeah, exactly right. That's a good note to leave on, because it's an hour now. We're going to do many more of these shows. There's so much information.
Thank you. And, I really had a good time doing this, despite all of the technical issues we had. And, I would love to be back on a show with you, because it's very pleasant speaking to you.
Yeah, we'll do lots more, because you have a lot of information to get out there.
Thank you.
We'll talk to you again.
It was very nice. Thank you for having me on. You have a great evening.
You too.